Mini skirt on, dip my body in glitter. Platform sneakers, all the boys want a picture. Two foreign cars, I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with ya. Mini skirt on, dip my
Hello, hello, hello. You are now tuned in to the A Little Bit Alive podcast. I'm your host, Kristen, and welcome back to another week. This week, we are finally getting into the third installment of the High School Musical series. It's been a long time coming. This has been a journey, a fun journey going down memory lane, and we finally made it to senior year, guys. It's time to turn up. And of course, I'm joined by my sister, Janae.
Hi.
We are so excited to get into this film. We have lots of thoughts. I would say this is one of our favorite.
Yeah.
She's so good. The one movie that made it to the theater, she is the Mecca. She is that girl when it comes to this film. She's box office. What can you say about that? You know what I mean?
Right.
And at the end of the day, if you weren't fortunate enough to see this movie in the theaters at the time, I feel sorry for you. I truly feel sorry for you. Going to the theaters, popcorn ready, sitting in that mother freaking seat, kicked back, relaxed, and seeing Troy Bolton on the full screen was a spiritual experience.
It was a life-changing moment, definitely.
No, for real.
I literally have my first note being, we need to discuss that this is already the most iconic High School Musical because of its theatrical release. So, I don't know, say what you want, have your favorite High School Musicals or whatever, but I'm sorry, 3 is just that girl.
For real. Oh my God. It's just, we got to get into it, guys. We got to get into it. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, welcome. If you're watching on YouTube, give this video a like, comment, and subscribe. Your girl's on her road to her first 700 subscribers. So I really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button and turn those post notifications on. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple, rate that 5 stars and leave a review to let me know what you think about the show. Also, in the comments on YouTube or Spotify, let me know, ultimately, now that we're done with the trilogy, what is your hands down favorite film out of the 3? And when it comes to senior year, do you have a favorite scene? Let me know in the comments down below. So let's get into it. Yeah, the theatrical release of it all is so everything. The feeling was an outer body experience, with this movie opening up and the way that it opens up with the lights exploding, and then the first thing you see is Troy in those blue eyes on the big screen. I remember that feeling of the breath being gone out of my body. I was breathless. I could not breathe at that time when we saw that movie in theaters.
Yeah. I put the intro shot being a sweaty Troy truly awakened something within me and a lot of other girls, I'm sure. Because, yeah, it's the intro is just a sweaty Troy Bolton staring at the camera. I'm like, okay.
No, that's Pinky.
That's an interesting thing I have yet to see in my life. And now that I've seen it, I'm enjoying.
No, for real. And also, everyone looks so much older in this film right away as soon as you get straight into it. And of course, Troy has just only gotten hotter at this point, which you just think High School Musical 2, you're like, okay, how could he have gotten hotter? That's crazy. But then by 3, you're like, holy.
Yeah, it's this was part of your first introduction to oh, that's a man.
Right.
That's a man that I'm attracted to. Okay.
No, and that's what it feels like. It feels like Zeke, Chad, and Troy, the gang, are giving men
and
in
also,
this movie.
As an adult, I'm looking at Mr. Bolton.
Mr. Bolton has a new haircut in this movie, I think.
I'm sorry.
It's Pinky.
As an adult now, as a 25-year-old woman, I'm don't want your head because I want his daddy. Word to Megan Thee Stallion. I'm gonna need that. Thanks.
Yeah, we stand Mr. Bolton. Everything about this opening number and the song and just the sequence of it all is just so magical. Like the way that it just like goes straight into the middle of a game is a crazy opener. You know what I mean? So you already feel like electrified as soon as the film starts. The energy is literally there. And I think that they're losing the basketball game that they're playing against the West High Knights. And so then they end up having a what is it, halftime or break or whatever the freak. And they go to the locker room. And that's when you really see like, okay, Chad is getting grown. Like Troy's got his literal muscles out. Like, whoa.
And, like, as a kid, I was always very like Corbin because Corbin Blue was like my first crush ever. But now watching this, I'm like, Zach. Like,
for real.
I am very Zac Efron down on this watch through. Like, this is crazy. How did I not see? You know?
No. Even Zeke, like I said,
because
looks.
We need to discuss Zeke because that's a fine specimen.
No, for
right
real.
there.
That first shot of him in that locker room, you're like, okay, Zeke. Off rip. Zeke is giving face card. Like, what? Sharpay, you tripping, girl.
Right.
Get on that stat, for real.
Literally. Not only is he cute, but he can bake. Like,
No, for real.
She needs to be jumping on that opportunity.
Yes. I think this moment, is just such a cute little moment for them to literally be in the middle of the game. It's showing that like they're losing. They go to the locker room. They have this moment where, Troy's dad is like, at the end of the day, guys, for the seniors, this is the last 16 minutes that you'll play here as a Wildcat. So just make it count. Have fun. The energy gets back up. Troy and Chad are like, okay, let's get this. What team? Wildcats. They go back out and then they kill it. And then we get right into 16
minutes left.
Get done. 16. Game on. Like, who came up with the 16 minutes? Like,
they had some black people in the stew.
That's giving African American Rhythm Nation. Are you kidding me right now?
There were some brothers in the stew. There were some sisters in the stew.
No, like, this is the last time to make a mark. This is the time to don't mean we are. Now or never. This is the like, that song is still to this day. I was rewatching it this weekend. I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
Like,
I
what?
think Now or Never is quite possibly the best song in all of High School Musical history.
Yeah. Like, it's up there. Genuinely as a song. Like, so what are we gonna shoot, score? Like, what?
Give me the ball.
Give me the ball. Like, what the heck?
Zac
There's
Efron was on his he was on his usher in that studio. He was on his insert other black pop star. Like,
he was light skinned in that stew flow.
Zac Efron had the light skin energy. The light skin god shone down on him in that studio and said, "You're gonna make history, son."
No, for real. Like, no cap. Like, so what are we gonna be? TEAM team? Like, TEAM team?
I literally got chills. Like, the cheerleaders in the background of the songs, the horn, the drums, like, I can't even,
every little detail makes that song so magical.
How much, like, they just knew they had history to make in that studio. Like, like, everything came together so well. Like, it really feels like
it's organized chaos in the best way.
Like, the addition of the cheerleaders was so good.
Especially the West High Knights. Hey, you ever doing it right? Hey,
I know.
Let me quit it. Let me hit you. Let me see you. Hey.
WILD
Wildcats. Come on.
And then Martha, the cheerleader. Shout out to the big girl. Shout out to the big girl.
She might be cheerleading captain for real. I wrote that down too. Seeing Martha as a cheerleader had me gagged as a kid. It was literally the plus size representation that I needed to see yet again. Because when I was in that theater, when I saw Martha on the cheerleading team, I screamed. I screamed. That was a big deal. That was a big deal that they upgraded Martha to being on the cheerleading team. That tore
Legendary.
for real.
And I put literally the first 3 minutes of this movie completely craps on the entirety of High School Musical 2. I'm sorry. But the first, like, we're only 3 minutes in, and I literally have about 15 bullet points.
All right, let's go over Janae's bullet points before we finish with Now or Never, because there's a lot to say about Now or Never.
I put give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball in all caps. And then I put try.
Oh, how could we forget? How could we forget?
Gabriella looks like an angel. Ugh, I love her. And then I put probably the only cheesy moment in this movie.
Yeah.
With them singing through right now, I can hardly like.
You can do it, just know that I believe, and that's all I really need. He needed a mid-game boost, and if anybody gonna do it, it's his girl. Period.
And I just put that Zac Efron's voice is so good in this movie. Like the singing voice.
Yeah, it's really like it's just crazy to see his vocal progression.
Like from not even being allowed to sing in the first movie to like there was no parts where anybody came in and did a little backing helping vocal.
Yeah. Like he tore all on his own. Yeah, the Gabriella Troy of it all is a little cringe, but that aside, like I would say Now or Never is literally a perfect opening number. And of course, me and Janae's favorite moment of the entire song is when they're singing and you hear Mr. Bolton in the background saying, "Go boys, go boys, go boys." Like,
that is so
iconic. They brought Mr. Bolton in the studio to sing, to say that part.
Go boys, go
like, boys.
Literally, that's why I said there's a black man in the studio. Like, my black people senses are tingling.
Whose idea was that? Whose idea was that?
And like,
to add all of those details to where you hear the cheerleaders in the studio, like they're all on the song, they're on the record.
Like this
the
is
cheerleaders,
legit musical theater type stuff.
Literally,
like, that really ate.
And it's just so sweet. Like Mr. Bolton is just so.
I know he's
cheering for the boys. Like
go boys, go boys.
It's so sweet, Janae.
Yeah, you can probably edit this part out, maybe. But in my notes, I put go boys, and then in asterisks, I put African leg dance. You know that one where it's like you move and I don't know how to describe it.
No,
it's like this dance where you like sort of move your leg and your arm.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's what my brain went to when it's like go boys. So you can add that or something. I also put the fact that Troy wanted to put in Rocket Man. It just proves that he's like such a good person who sees the best in everybody because like, you know, he's the captain. He's like, let's put in Rocket Man. It's like, aw, giving people chances.
No, but at the same time, if I were on the team, I'd be like,
everybody was like side-eyeing. And then when it was funny when the kid came in and was being extra and Troy was like, calm down.
No, that was so funny to me. I didn't know. I forgot that Troy did that.
And then Rocket Man ended up shooting the final basket and winning the game.
Shout out to Mr. Bolton for giving Rocket Man a chance and even letting him be on the team. When he auditioned, he could have easily been like, "This isn't for you, son," because he doesn't give baller energy, in my opinion.
He gives I'm trying to be like Troy energy.
Yeah, but like when we first saw this film, it took me like a couple of years to even adjust to the introduction of these new characters. I really did not like the idea of adding in Rocket Man and that his little basically Chad dupe and the Sharpay dupe. I was like, who are these people? Ew, get away. Like, I did not like those characters because I'm like, these are the people that are supposed to take over when they graduate. Like, ew. Like, I don't know why as a kid I just hated them so much.
Yeah.
But now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh, like Rocket Man's just he's adorable. That's all you can say. He's just a nice kid. He's nice.
Well, yeah. I had a crush on him when I was little.
Oh, gee, I didn't know that.
I
Well,
thought he was
yeah.
so cute, and like that was 8-year-old me's dream boy. Like, yeah, Corbin Blue also was, and so was Zac Efron, but that was also very much my type back then,
She's a diverse queen.
and kind of still to this day.
Yeah. Ooh. And then after Rocket Man shoots the winning shot, I guess, they win the championships. And after they win the game, then they throw a big party at Troy's house. Ryan is there, which I was like, okay, Ryan. Like at this point,
He's a
they followed.
wildcat.
Yeah, I'm glad that they stuck with, because remember we were complaining about how like personalities were reset in High School Musical 2.
Yeah.
But now that we're in 3, I'm glad that they kept Ryan cool.
Right.
So Ryan,
like he was even he was the mascot.
Yeah.
During the basketball game, that proves how deep of a wildcat he became.
Mm-hmm. So that was really a really nice detail that I liked. Ryan was at the party at Troy's house. Everyone is there. And Troy says hi to everybody, and then that's when him and Gabriella get away in his treehouse, and they're kind of start, really worrying for real about college, and with her school, Stanford, potentially being so far away. So they kind of express their concerns, and then that's when they sing "Right Here, Right Now," which is such a cute little song. Like everything about that treehouse sequence is so adorable. It's so dreamy.
I know.
And after they are done singing, then I think what makes me laugh about this movie is the way that they transition from singing back into the moment feels different than the previous 2 movies. Like as soon as they're done singing, the Gabriella's like, oh, look at this toy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that makes it feel a lot more like musical theater, because it seems like in the other 2 movies, they would like sing and then it would like transition to a new scene. But like in actual theater, you sort of sing a song and then you like talk again.
Yeah. Okay, right. That's a good point. That's when Troy's mom is like, get down here. At the end of the day, you got guests and this is a party, for you and your team. So come down. And that was adorable. And then after that, they go to school the next day, and that's when we see that Sharpay has like a new assistant, which is basically like the mini Sharpay dupe. And she's like this cute little English girl, and she's like, I'm here for you, Sharpay. So that was interesting that we get introduced to a new character. And we also get to see like any shot that we get to see of Sharpay's locker living. And after that, they go to homeroom and Miss Darbus. And that's when Kelsey is like frantically writing something down on a piece of paper, and we find out that she signs everybody up for the spring musical without asking them. So then they're all mad, and they're like, we don't have time for this. Like, we cannot participate after school. It's senior year. We have this and that to do. Troy's like, I got to work on fixing my car. Everybody has a lot of things to do, which, like, understandably so. Like, senior year is a crazy, jam-packed year. And Kelsey's like, well, I'm sorry. Like, I just thought that we'd all want to do it since this would be like our last musical. And Gabriella is just like, well, guys, of course, her being Gabriella, she's like, no, I think it would be fun. Like, I think we should do it. And then that's when she kind of looks at Troy, and she's like, Troy, which is like so cute.
I put Gabriella trying to give a pep talk and no one cared, but suddenly they've all become on board when Troy agrees. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of side-eyeing that. But also, I think it's really cute how much faith everybody has in Troy.
Right. Yeah. And I think that it's really cute how much faith Troy has in Gabriella in turn, because then he's like, fine. Like I'll just do anything she wants to do.
I guess we all should.
Then after that, Miss Darbus comes in, and she basically says that Juilliard has an offer for 4 students, and it's Kelsey, Ryan, Sharpay, and Troy. And that's when Zeke and Chad are like laughing, and they're like, Juilliard. And Troy is like gagged because he's like, oh, I never applied for Juilliard. So that's really interesting. But there's only one scholarship. One scholarship can only go to out of the 4 of them. So I didn't realize.
It's really nice that Troy even got considered, though. Like,
no, for real.
Yeah.
He was genuinely a contender.
That's iconic.
Yes. I'm trying to think. Was there any moments between that scene?
Miss Darvith had everybody line up and talk about their future. And Taylor was like, I'm going to be president of the United States. And I'm like, I wrote down exactly, like, we need you, girl. We need that, please.
Man, it's good. Like, it ain't no Kamala. It's Taylor McKessie.
McKessie for president, please.
Oh, wow. That would eat. Yeah. And as a kid, once again, I think we need to give our 10s to Taylor just for the Black girl representation. She had some interesting wig choices in this movie, of course. None of that was her fault.
It was the early 2000s on a white people movie. Of course, she didn't have a good hairstylist.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like we said in the previous episodes, we're just fortunate that like she was a Black girl who was smart, ambitious. She was just like perfect representation for, just such a great example for like Black women in STEM, essentially. And for them to give her like lore and take it to the point of like she wants to be president, and she ends up going to major in political science is really, really nice. So we stand Taylor. We really do.
Yeah.
So after that, Troy learns that like he is considered for Juilliard, and he's like, what the frick? I don't know what the frick. I don't know nothing about that. Then that's when we transition into Sharpay and Ryan performing I Want It All, because Sharpay, I think at that point was like kind of over the fact that everybody was in the musical again.
And the like fact that Ryan was like so wildcatty. Like she wanted Ryan to be on her side again. And I did put as a note the fact that Sharpay has her own reserved meal for lunch is kind of cool.
She even had a reserved parking spot when she first got to school.
Speaking of Sharpay, I also put earlier in my notes that Ashley Tisdale looked good in this movie.
She did. The first outfit that we even
also bites Pinky.
No.
Like, she looks so beautiful in this movie. Like, come on, girl.
The way that they have her extensions and her hair curled throughout the film.
She looks so pretty.
Down. Those pink boots and that white collar jacket button up that she had on when we first see her.
She looks so pretty.
Yes, she's literally giving bad teen. But yeah, I think that's that point of the movie where Sharpay is like, I'm back on my demon time. I'm upset that these people are infiltrating the spring musical. And then on top of that, at this point, it's clear that they're trying to gun for me in the theater. Because like Troy is a contender for Juilliard. And Ryan's like, hello? And she's like, he's lying. Sharpay's like, he must have applied. Like, you don't just randomly be a contender. So Sharpay is like convinced that like Troy is just giving sneaky, conniving, plotting for some reason.
I do like that she's kind of gave up on her pursuit of him, at least. I like that that's not a storyline anymore.
Right. Yeah. She just seems to be kind of over it. And she's like, golly gee, do whatever you guys are going to do. You ruin everything anyway. And kind of just kept our distance from the most part with that. But I Want It All is like such a fun number. Like everything about it is just...
Imagine having everything we ever dreamed. Don't you want it?
Maybe.
Can't you see it?
Kinda. Like what?
Like that's where the true like theater stuff started happening. Like I'm not saying
that whole number is theater down.
Literally, like I'm no theater expert. Like I generally don't watch theater, but I am a K-pop fan, and my bias was in a few theater productions. So like I have watched some theater performances, and like that is just so like the amount of effort, the amount of working and moving parts that have to go into it, like all the props and everything needs to be so rehearsed and on time to make it move smoothly. Like, I get that they had a lot more leeway because it was a movie, not an actual like theater production, but like the way they made it look so theatery with like the props and like the fake cars and like the just everything. It was so cute, so fun. The song in itself is really good, and like the use of the main cast as like story to tell the story of the song. Like Troy was like a Sharpay super fan. Gabriella was like their maid.
Oprah's calling again.
Taylor was the like flight attendant. Zeke
Bruh, I wrote that
Zeke
down.
at the tiki bar with his shirt
off had me gagged as a kid. I was like, grr. Yeah, that is such a good point. And that's why it's like watching I Want It All and seeing all the moving parts and like you said, the props, it made me realize why Miss Darbus is always putting people in detention to paint sets.
Right. Because like
Miss
that takes
Darbus,
a lot of work.
Yeah. Like she be handing out detention like candy because she knows that, shoot, we need somebody to help us because these props are crazy with this musical. Miss Darbus has stepped up production value at East High in a crazy way. Like when you think about it, like you said, the way that they were able to have more resources because it's a musical. I mean, it's a movie, but at the same time, they still made sure that it felt like this very well could really be an actual high school production. At the same time, it just felt like really nice. Like this is like a real high school could put this number together if they had money.
Yeah. If they were East High.
Right. Like East High has coin. So this very well could have really been a possibility that they had such a nice stage design.
And the actual East High School probably still has a lot of those props themselves too.
No, for real. Like you said, I love the way that they incorporate all of the main cast and the number. It just felt like it made it feel like, oh yes, like
even like Martha and Kelsey towards the end. Or was it was Martha and Taylor. They were at the very end, like out there at the final shot with the dancers.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Yeah.
Martha was the taxi driver. Chad was the police officer. I'm like, everybody's got their
Chad's accent as the police driver.
Jason and Zeke were the bodyguards.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is so cute. Like everybody had a part in this.
Yes, and it makes you remember in the moment that like, oh, the whole homeroom signed up. Like everybody is participating in the musical this year.
Yeah.
Like it's not just Troy and Gabriella like it was in the first movie. Right. Like everybody's in the musical and everyone's going to be able to see this show that eats down.
My last note, I just put in all caps, New York City.
That's what I was going to say. Ryan, I want it all. I want it all. I want it all. Like Ryan ate down the wigs. The girls in the wigs and the
Tokyo,
outfits.
Moscow, Hollywood, New York City. Like the shout out of all the cities at the end. And like, this feels just so grand. Like, I believe in y'all. And it makes me want to watch that, the little Sharpay spinoff movie that they have.
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I need to get into that. I remember I watched it.
I've only seen it once.
Yeah, same. Like, I need to get back into that.
Yeah. Once they sing that, then that's when Sharpay is like, okay, now that you see the vision a little bit more and I want you to come on over to the dark side, I got friends on the other side, no Princess and the Frog. Like, you need to do what you need to do to try to get in good with Kelsey. So that way we can get whatever song she has that she's working on for Troy and Gabriella, because we all know by this point, she says that she writes the best songs for them too. So whether you need to, you know, shine her shoes or whatever, get it done. And Ryan's like, okay, which is, like, come on, Ryan. You could have just said no. And then after that, that's when Troy asks Gabriella to the prom, and it's such a cute little way because she gets to school and he's like on the roof And that's when Taylor's like, this has got 2 weeks of detention written all over it. And they go upstairs on the roof, and he's got these little cute little tux like jackets, and he's like, which one do you think will be, better? She picks one, and he's like, I got the ticket. So she's like, okay, purr. And then that's when they sing Can I Have This Dance on the rooftop. Such a good number. This is when you really see that, like, once again, it's in your face that the production value is up, the choreography is up. Vanessa Hudgens did so beautifully with the choreo on this
like
number.
just the way they were floating around on that roof together, like it all looks so effortless. And like I know they had to have it in hours, days, months of practice to like pull that off, but they just made it look so effortless and just so beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's just everything about like the intentionality with like the dress that Gabriella was wearing, her shoes, like Troy just looks so cute. And that is a good point. Like it genuinely looked like they were just floating, they were levitating up there. Like to be able to have that type of chemistry and perfection and make it look that easy. I know, like you said, it's not easy, but that was such a cute little thing.
And it definitely helped that they were like into each other in real life at that time.
Right. And then that's when, Troy, like I said, so since he asked Gabriella to prom, then that's when Chad was like, okay, well, I'm going to do the same thing and ask Taylor to prom. But she's not like a simple girl like Gabriella.
Well, like, first, before we get there, there's also that scene where Troy and Chad sort of prank Rocket Man and the fake Chad.
Oh, yes.
And they're in the locker room and they're like, oh, we heard you wanted our lockers. And then the little boys are like, yeah. So they're like, oh, you got to earn them though. And then they like sort of chase them around the school with their clothes because the freshman boys, they had just gotten out of the shower. So they were like, had towels around them and were chasing them around the school with their clothes. And I bet this scene was also a big deal for me as a child too, especially as a kid who I had a crush on Rocket Man, the boy. And yeah, I'm like, wow, there's just so many displays of like boyness in this movie. I'm like, I feel like I learned a lot as a little 8-year-old. I'm like, okay, noted. With a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I just remember seeing that in the movie theater for the first time was so jarring as a kid because, like you said, you're like, boy, like it's a like, lot.
Oh my God, you're like, it's a boy body. That's what that looks like.
No, for real. Like at that point, I don't think I'd ever seen a boy running around with just a towel on.
Right.
Such an interesting choice for a kid's movie, but hence, I guess, why they said this is going to go theater.
Yeah.
But, whoa, is basically what my first reaction was as a kid when I saw that scene. That was pretty funny. And I love, like, little moments like that because Troy is just always stressed. So, the little times that he's able to have fun.
When Troy can just be a freaking teenage boy, I love that.
Yes. Being a teenage boy, having a little prank. That's so
getting
adorable.
detention every once in a while, like
yeah. Then it was funny because like somehow Rocket Man and the boy ended up getting detention when they were the victims. And Ms. Darby said, once again, I don't care. I need these sets painted, sweetie. The freak. That was funny. And then that's when we go to Chad asking Taylor to prom. But she's not impressed with the promposal in the way that Troy did the promposal. She is like, you're going to have to do more than that, sweetie. So then that's when
she said, when Chad sort of like half-assedly asked her, she was like, oh, honey, if that's what you call an invitation, you'll be dancing with yourself. And I'm like, come on. Like, I love a girl who knows her worth. Like,
no, for real.
That would be me. Like, you're not going to just ask me to prom when I'm in the middle of doing my freaking yearbook. Like, I want you to stand on that table. I want you to embarrass yourself in front of your friends to ask me to prom.
Right. And I think that's what it makes, because at first I didn't understand when I was young, like the difference in that. But I think I was like, well, Troy's proposal seems pretty similar to Chad's. The difference was
But
like,
that was more private.
yes. And like you said, it wasn't in the middle of yearbook just rolling up being like, yo, wanna go? Like Troy
Right.
had like a cute little
He thought it out.
moment.
He had it really thought out.
Right. And that's when I realized like, Chad, you just literally decided what class is she in right now? Let's just pull up.
Let's strike one for him this movie. I thought he was doing a lot better. But y'all know I'm not light on Chad. Like strike one.
For real. So then that's when Taylor says, step it up. Like, are you gonna be dancing by yourself? So then that's when he asks her in front of the school at lunch. And she's like, okay, that's better. And she says yes. So now that Troy and Chad are like, okay, our girl said yes, that's when they're like, okay, we need to figure out what we're gonna wear. Like, we, really need to get into the mindset of getting ready for prom. And then that's when they perform A Night to Remember.
Like, I just love that song. I love this song so much.
It's so good. Everything about the number is like
it's just so fun and so cute and so like
every song ever on this whole soundtrack.
So high school. Like there's something just so high school about it that I really like. It's so cute and fun.
So what should I do with my hair? Like those are valid things. Where's my shaver? I look like a waiter.
Don't panic.
No, do we have to dress up on the prom? I don't think we have a choice.
Yeah, and I put also Kelsey. She's so pretty in this movie. Like she has been pretty, but like in this movie specifically, I'm like, okay, she's gorge.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like how they made that who's that girl? She's so fine.
Who's that guy? I don't recognize.
They're talking about Kelsey and Ryan at that part, and I thought that was so cute because it's like, okay, they do deserve that praise. They're the showmakers.
No, for real.
Yeah,
they are the showmakers for this musical. I like how like they do the part where they all have like their houses.
Yeah, that's
and
so
then
cute.
It shows like it just really portrays like,
and then that little limo that they get on, like it's so musical. I love it.
Oh my god, all of the details with that, like they truly use the set and the props to paint the scene of what prom night really feels like. The excitement of getting ready, figuring out what you're gonna wear, like getting dressed and ready in the house, and then like the one guy that plays the dad, where he's like, the dad's staring me down. Father staring me down.
Aggressive handshake.
With the aggressive handshake, and like, the boys pull up to pick up the girls, and like you said, they ride off on the limo after that, pull up to prom. Who's that girl? And they all dance. It's like it perfectly portrays the process of getting ready for prom.
Was so good. Kenny Ortega.
Bruh.
Kenty.
Ortega art.
Come on the
choreo,
pod.
song, set.
Kenny, we need you on the pod. Please.
Choreo, song, set. 333 cleared. Like you said, we need Kenny Ortega art. So then after they perform A Night to Remember, that's when Gabriella finds out that she was officially accepted into early orientation for her program at Stanford. And she tells Taylor about the good news. And of course, that's when Sharpay's little demon assistant overhears, and she tells Sharpay about it. So then Sharpay's like, ooh, well, I guess if she's going to be off doing this little orientation, then that means that she won't be able to participate in the spring musical. So Sharpay already gets to plotting at that point. But Gabriella is kind of like on the fence because she's like, I don't know if I want to do the early orientation. Like, she's still trying to figure it out at that point and like keep it on the low. And then that's when Ryan asks Kelsey to prom, so that way he can officially get on in there and snatch up that song for him.
Also, I don't know. I think just genuinely he might have wanted to.
True. But at the end of the day, Sharpay's influence was there at the beginning, and I'm like, I don't like that. But it was pretty cute. But he like asked her when they were literally when he was like when the Kelsey was rehearsing Troy and Gabriella's song.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. But the way he asked her was so smooth though. He's like, oh, I can pick you up date. I was like, okay, Ryan.
You're on my mind, you're in my heart. It doesn't matter where we are.
Oh, so
And
that was the thing.
Felt like, wow, I can't wait to be a teen and go to school early and drink tea at the freaking piano too. I thought that seemed so cool to me.
Yeah. Kelsey was not kidding as a composer. She had to get that voice right so she can sing and get the notes ready for Troy and Gabriella.
That scholarship, well deserved.
No, foreshadow for real. Like, she's such a good composer. That's when we finally, like, it's official. Kelsey and Ryan are going to prom together. So now we know that, like, the official dates that are locked in are, of course, Troy and Gabriella are going to prom together. Chad and Taylor and Kelsey and Ryan. And then that's when we fast forward to Troy and Chad. They have to pull up to the junkyard to get a part for Troy's car, which has just been funny. Like the lore of his car throughout this film. Yeah. Like at the beginning, when they first pulled up to Troy's party, him and Chad had to like literally push Troy's car down the street. And he's like, I need a fuel pump or whatever the freak he said he needed. And that's just so cute. Like Troy's got the humble beginnings with that junky car for real. Yeah. So once they get to the junkyard, he's like talking to the guy that's like the owner of the junkyard. And he's like, hey y'all, I need this part. And then the guy's like, well, you and Chad can probably find what you need over there in that pile, lock up when you're done. So then as Troy is like trying to fix the part on his car with the part that he thinks he needed, Chad's just kind of standing around and they're chatting. And that's when Troy tries to kind of like open up to Chad a little bit. And he's like, do you ever just feel like your future is already written for you? Like, I kind of want my future to be my choice. And Chad's like not really listening at that point. And he's like, come on, man. Like, life ain't that serious.
Strike two for me.
No, for real. And Chad like really wasn't trying to hear none of that sentimental, like serious things. And that's when Troy was like, come on, man. Like, for real though, like life is moving too fast. Like, do you remember when we used to just be out here and we could just dream up any future that we wanted to? And we just thought that like all the choices and the options were endless. Like if we wanted to be a superhero, we thought we were legit going to be able to be a superhero. Like, come on, like turn up, like think about it for real. Like the choice of our future is ours. And that's when they start singing The Boys Are Back. Probably one of my favorite songs on the soundtrack, bruh.
Literally. Take it back to the place where it
all began. We could be anything we want to be.
Bow, 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 bow.
The production on this song is so good. Everything about this number, once again, is 10 to 10s across the board. Like the choreography with floors. The choreography is so adorable. Like they're even working with their elbow. Do you remember the elbow dance?
Yeah, I think I don't know. You might be able to add it, but there's this little move that Zac Efron does when.
Are you talking about the?
Yeah, well, Smith and Bobby, De Niro. I replayed that so many times. It was so cute. Like, I don't know. It was so cute to me. Another one of my notes I put in all caps. Keep coming with the right when the fight every single time. Like, again, the light-skinnedness was blessed upon Zac Efron in that studio. Like, he was giving pop star
light skinned or is light-skinnedness thrust upon them?
Right.
We're too wicked.
Like he ate with this in this song. Like he sounds so good. He sounds pop star. Like I love the choreography too.
The way they incorporate so many moving parts of the junkyard.
That's theater too. Like adding the little moving pieces of like make it look like just a big giant, car and stuff, and
pretending that
them
the
with the
car,
wheel.
yes, and
Them
pretending that the
playing-
car is a monster,
Yeah.
and like pretending that they have to save the girl. There were so many different like ways that they used their imagination in this junkyard. Somehow the backup dancers came out of nowhere. Are you guys employees here? I mean, what?
It's imagination, the power of imagination. You don't watch SpongeBob?
We don't need television. Not as long as we have our imagination.
It's so adorable. And then like, of course, the number one cutest thing of the whole number is the little Chad and little Troy.
Ugh,
You're like,
that's
dang,
so
they really been rocking with each other
cute.
since day one. Anytime Troy has fun, we're here.
Yeah, when he gets to be just a kid, like he is.
Because it's easy to forget that like he is still a kid here.
Yeah.
But I think that might be both of our favorite number, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Because, like, y'all can say what you want to say about it. And by y'all, I mean my dad. It's iconic. It's legendary. It's fun. It's cute. It's amazing. And I love it.
I don't know why growing up our dad hated on the boys are back so much.
For some reason, he just didn't vibe. And I'm like,
For those who don't know the lore, like we used to have the High School Musical senior year on DVD, and every time we would have to have our weekends with our dad, we stayed watching that movie.
yeah.
I can't even imagine how many times
That and
total we've seen this film.
the Jonas Brothers season 1 DVD.
Yeah.
The Jonas Show and Left My Heart in Scandinavia.
No, I fell in love with the pizza girl.
Yeah.
Yup. Shout out to The Boys Are Back. Such a good song. And after they have their little moment where they're like, Troy's thinking about his future again and panicking, but then he has like a little chill moment with Chad. They dance. Then that's when we cut to Gabriella. She's hanging out with Taylor, and she's also talking to her friend, being like, I'm stressed about college orientation. And Gabriella's having a transparent moment. And she's like, again, I just don't know if I want to miss the spring show to go to this early orientation. And Taylor's like, girl, you're going to be back for prom and graduation. So like, that's all that matters. Like, this is your future. You need to grab it. So do not waste this opportunity. And Gabriella's like, well, what if I don't really want to go? Like, what if I do want to go to just, local college and go to U of A for a year first, and then like potentially thinking about like going to Stanford, because that's the school that Troy might go to. And Taylor's like, get the frick out of here. Like, after Troy, there will be other boys. And I understand that he's like your first crush. And she was like, I mean, relationship, which, girl, watch your mouth.
Problematic. I put, girl, that's my man in all caps. Like, ain't a crush. That's my man.
No, literally. And I think it's like, they're down, like, okay, just because like you and Chad aren't locked in and giving soulmates in the way that me and Troy are, that's why you don't understand, because there's levels to this, sis. Okay?
And I just don't vibe with people who just love to act like, high school relationships don't matter, or like, you guys are going to break up anyways. You'll never last. You'll never be together. Like, that's just,
it's just
so
puppy
whack.
love.
Yeah.
Because as someone who literally is with my high school sweetheart, like, when it's not a game, it's not a game, sir. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, this is actually the love of my life. And I'm thinking this is going to be forever my man. So I'm genuinely considering my future. And you and Chad are basically acting like me and Troy are just supposed to break up just because we're going to college. Like, some people do work it out. And you're not even giving us the chance to think that we could.
Right.
And I think that's a real situation that high school sweethearts are often faced with when it comes to what are we going to do? How are we going to make this work? If we go to the same college, if we don't, it always feels so heavy, because then people feel like you shouldn't make the choice to go to the same college as your boyfriend or girlfriend, because you shouldn't make choices for your future based on your partner because you're still so young.
I don't know. I don't get that. Like, I haven't been in that situation, of course, but like, as your sister and someone who's like seen you go through it, it's like, I just don't get that. Why does everybody want to prey on your downfall? Why does everybody just think that just because you're young, you can't be serious about something or someone? Like,
Yeah.
that just doesn't make sense to me.
And then and also, as somebody who's been with their high school sweetheart, there's so many people who are always like, you know, you need to grow and there's other fish in the sea and like
That
find
doesn't make
yourself.
sense. Like, why? If you like someone, you get along with them, and you know, what's wrong with staying together?
Right. And that's one thing that I've literally thought about. I've always felt that way about too. Because if they are the right person, then they should allow you to have space to be able to grow and find yourself independently while still being in that relationship. I don't understand why people act like when you're with your high school sweetheart that you still can't do that, but it's strange to me. Like, I don't need to be single to find myself. I can find myself in a relationship. Like, what the
Right.
freak? It's so weird. And I think that I hate that they're putting that on Troy and Gabriella, because as someone who's literally had that put on myself, it doesn't feel fair. And I feel like nobody in their life is trying to even like attempt to see their side and realize that like when you're in a relationship, those are things you do consider. You know, you want to consider, do we want to stay together? Are we going to do long distance, or are we going to try to go to school close to each other? So I think Gabriella and Troy are 100% valid in considering all of these things, because they know how serious they are about each other. So everybody can get the frick off. All right. Because, and it's like, why would you even second guess their decision? Like, you all know that Gabriella has a good head on her shoulders, and so does Troy. So why can't everyone in their lives trust their instincts and, you know, the way that they're getting through this? You know,
Right.
it's so strange to me. So that whole conversation with Taylor was really frustrating to me, because, you know, Gabriella even tried to set a boundary and say, hey, like, I need you to be my friend. And she still kind of fumbled the bag.
Right.
And even though she apologized and she's like, sorry, and like tried to hug
And then
Gabriella,
she just left immediately.
because she knew she messed up. She knew she effed up. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to just go. And it's like, right, get the frick out of my room.
Right.
Because, girl, like, that's not it. So I really like that they added that part into the movie, because that's a really very real conversation that needs to be had. And I think you're willing to do a lot of things when it comes to love. And I also think that, you know, Taylor didn't even consider the fact that like this is like the first stable thing that Gabriella has ever had. She's so used to moving all the time. So being with Troy and having, you know, that safe space with him, of course she's going to be like, do I want to, you know, give this up when it comes to school? And I don't think that even if she chose to just stay at U of A for a year and then go to Stanford, why would that be the end of the world? Like, there's plenty of people
Right.
who do a year and then go. Like, the freak.
This doesn't make sense. Everything feels like it's they're trying to make, and that's what I also don't understand about like this general era in people's lives. It's like, how do you expect a 17, 18-year-old to sort of just like conceptualize the entirety of their life and be like, you need to make this choice right now for your entire, like, this, your whole life depends on this. Like, actually, it doesn't. Actually, it doesn't. Like, if you live to be at least like 70, that's still so much time. You have so much time to do things and try new stuff and go to different colleges. Like, you don't have to make all these choices right now.
Yeah. And I think that they really felt that pressure, and putting that pressure on kids during that stage just feels like torture. Is this a medieval torture tactic? Because why do I have to do a senior exit presentation and give you the top list of things that I'm going to decide to do in the fall? And it's just it's
Right.
crazy. It's crazy to think about the timeline of the way that these things happen. I'm supposed to make a decision, and only a few months, then I'm gonna go to college. Like, that's insane to me when you think about it. You graduate in June, and then that fall, you're like committed to a $20,000 tuition, which is insane. So it's like, considering a year locally is not a crazy thing, given that these are really, really big decisions. And maybe Gabriella does need more time to think about it. Shoot, the freak, it's not bad. So at that point, Gabriella, she's like stated her stance. She's like, I just don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to do the early orientation with Stanford. Like, I'm still trying to figure all of this out. So then the next day, Sharpay walks up to Troy and she's like, congratulations. And Troy's like, oh, thanks. Like, I'm glad the season's over. And she's like, no, I'm talking about Gabriella. She made it into like the early orientation like program for Stanford, but he didn't know yet. And Sharpay's like, oh, you didn't know? And he's like, no. Oh, which, Troy, you should have just lied. Been like, yep, I did know. Because that's how I always feel like you should act. If somebody tells you something about your partner that you don't know, pretend like you do. For real, because
Yeah.
you're not about to be playing in my face. And then that's when Sharpay tells Troy, well, you know, of course, I know that you're going to encourage her to do the right thing and, you know, tell her that she should go, because the only thing that would be holding her back is you, right? And on top of that, Sharpay is, of course, like team Gabriella leaving, so that way she doesn't have to be in the spring musical. So that's when Troy's like, oh my God, like, yeah, you're right. Like, I could be holding Gabriella back. So then that night, he pulls up to Gabriella's house. He brings her some pizza and some chocolate covered strawberries, which, like, hashtag romantic. Everything is, oh, like, what? Like, fall in love again and again with Troy Bolton, for real, for real. And then that's when Troy and Gabriella are hanging out. And that's when he tells her that, like, I found out about the early program, you know, the orientation thing. You know, how come you didn't tell me? The whole school knows about it. And she's like, well, I didn't tell you because I don't know if I want to go. And I kind of want to stay here and, like, figure things out. And, like, plus, like, you're my man. So, like, give me a second. The freak. And that's when Troy's like, well, I think you should go. And she's like, well, senior year is moving too fast. Okay. Like, I'm just not sure. And then that's when he was like, girl, we gonna graduate. So you got to make a decision. And the right one is going to that thing. And so then that's when Gabriella starts singing Walk Away after he leaves. And
I think also a really good song in itself too.
yes.
Better than her High School Musical 1 breakdown song. Not as good as Gotta Go My Own Way, but it's a good number 2.
Yeah, valid. And this scene is like really made me emotional because once again, just as someone who has experience with making those decisions of growing up and, you know, choosing like, you know, okay, I want to be my man, but I also have this opportunity. Like, I understand why she feels so torn, and you just really feel for Gabriella in this moment, but you also feel for Troy because obviously he doesn't want Gabriella to like miss the show or anything like that and like be away from her. But, you know, he has to be, you know, responsible and encourage her to chase after her dreams too. As much as he would like to be like, no, just stay here. I want you here with me. He's not going to be a hater. And that's like a green flag when it comes to a boyfriend. Like, if he's able to just be selfless and be like, no, I want the best for you. Do what you got to do. Even if that means us being apart, then it is what it is. Like, we stand. But it's a really, really like sentimental moment. And you just really feel for them. Like, with the fact that they're young and in love and they don't want to be away from each other. And then after that, Gabriella's like, well, okay, well, you know, I guess once, you know, Troy told me I should go, then I guess I'll go. So she decides to go to the program, and then she has to like travel and go away to Stanford. And then when they get back to school, that's when Ms. Darbus tells everybody that Gabriella is gone and she's not going to be able to make it to the, you know, do the show because she's now at Stanford. So Sharpay has to take over Gabriella's role. And then Later that night, Troy sees that his dad is outside playing basketball, and his dad asks him like, how's the show doing, which I'm like, that was really cute. And Troy's like, you don't want to know. And that's when his dad was like, hey, well, since I got you, like, how come you never told me about Juilliard and like, or any of the other schools that you've been talking to? And Troy's like, well, first of all, I ain't know about Juilliard. Like, I don't know what's going on with that, but I do know that I have been talking to other colleges because that's my choice. And like, that's my team. That's my business. And I can do that. And then basically Troy's dad is like, well, but we didn't talk about it. Like, you're doing this on your own. And the only thing we talked about was you going to U of A. And that's been the dream that you had, that we've had since you were a kid. And like, how do you think that your best friend Chad is going to feel knowing that you may or may not potentially go to U of A? Like, that's been the plan from day one. You and Chad are going to go to U of A and play together. And Troy's like, Chad's going to get over it at the end of the day, but will you, the freak?
Yeah,
So
I wrote
like
that down too.
Mm-hmm. And that was such a good conversation. I was so proud of how Troy handled that.
Yeah.
Like, having a parent kind of be on you in that moment, it's intense. And I understand where Troy's dad is coming from. Like, obviously he just wants to make sure that Troy is making the right decisions and doing things that are right for him. So of course, as a parent, I understand why he's kind of confused, because he's like, well, we didn't talk about it. Like, we have to communicate with each other if you're going to make these decisions. But Troy just feels like, I don't have to, because it's my choice. So like, I kind of exited you out of those plans, and you need to be okay with that. And that's a part of growing up. And like, that is a reality. Like, when you grow up, you realize you just can't be telling your parents everything, bruh. They don't need to know your moves. They don't need to know everything that you got going on. Sometimes you got to just do it and then be like, this is what I'm doing, y'all. And they just got to deal with it. And I think that's kind of what Troy is kind of leaning towards with this era of him considering other colleges. So that's when he's like, over the conversation with his dad, and he's like, whatever, like, get the frick out of my face. It's my life. It's my choice. Like, skip you. Honestly, skip Chad. Like, skip everybody. Like, Gabriella's gone. Like, she can't even be in the freaking musical. Life sucks right now. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm ready to scream. And what does he do? He storms off off to school at the middle of the night, and he has a breakdown. And he's like, I have big decisions to make. I'm worried about my future. I want to scream. How do we feel about Scream as a number?
I feel like Scream is Troy's best mental breakdown song out of the three. I think it's iconic. I think it's legendary. I think it's historic. I think it deserved multiple Grammys and Emmys and Tonys and all that stuff, because like the cinematography, the choreography, the theatrics of it all, the spinning hallway. The spinning hallway
takes it.
like, and just the substance of the song is a lot better too, because like it feels more like, the first two songs, I guess Bet on It is also a bit more like, I got real life stuff going on, but like Get Your Head in the Game is sort of like, like, you don't really need to be breaking down about all that. But like Scream, it's like, I understand. Like, when you're in that situation in that time of your life, everybody's telling you 1,000 different things. Like, sometimes you just want it all to just shut up, and you just need to scream. And like, you're going through, you have your first love, like, but she left. You're confused because you really want to do basketball, but you also really love theater. And like, your friends,
and then having an existential crisis of like your dream that you had for so long not really being your dream anymore, with the school that he thought he wanted to go to, is like enough to just send me over the edge.
Yeah, but that spinning hallway, like, that was when I was in the theater. I'm like, oh, we're watching a movie. This is a film. This is a film.
Oh,
like,
we had a budget.
This is not no decom. This is not no boy jumping over the freaking film doing the splits. This is not a Disney Channel movie. This is a film. This is an Oscar-worthy performance, and this is going to be talked about for eons after release.
And what are we here? We're here several years later, still talking about it.
I know. I said literally the coolest thing 8-year-old me had ever seen, and you know what? Still the coolest thing 25-year-old me has ever seen. Like,
No, for real.
him just maneuvering in that spinning hallway, and like his acting was just so good. Like, he truly looks like he's real life unwell in Scream.
He looks sick.
And yeah, like his acting is so good when he pulls down that big like thing of him in the lunchroom.
The poster.
And, you know, is it her? Is it love? Can the music ever be enough? Like, he sounds so distressed. He sounds so upset, and like those are some of the highest notes he's ever reached in the song, and like it's giving theater. It's giving like Zac Efron, the man that you are. Like, I'm sorry, Bob the drag queen. Zac Efron is a good actor. He is a good actor. Thank you.
I really felt some type of way when Bob the drag queen said that on Traders. I was like, listen, let's not go there.
No, literally.
Let's
like,
not
have
go
you not
there.
seen Hairspray? Did you not see Hairspray? I'm the lady's choice.
I could do a whole episode about Hairspray alone because you know I love that movie. But yeah, word to Gracie's Corner. Yum, yum, eat him up. Yum, yum, eat him up. Like, give him his tens for Scream. He had to do this ain't no jumping over the water, picking up sand, running across a golf course. Okay? This is hardcore turmoil.
Yeah.
That he's going through. And once he's done screaming, then that's when he realizes that Miss Darbus basically watched his whole entire mental breakdown, and she was in the auditorium, and he's like, what the frick are you doing here? Like, who the frick are you? I'm a brat when I'm up in that. And she's like, well, I have to like redo the musical a little bit now that Gabriella's not going to be here. But like, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, you know, sometimes I feel like I can kind of like, what did he say? He said something specific, like I can think when I'm up here or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's when she was like, well, you know, funny that you say that because of that fact and the fact that I can tell that you feel so comfortable up on the stage. That's why I was the one who submitted your application to the Juilliard program. And he was like, what? Like, that was you? Hashtag, huh?
It was giving reveal of the century.
No, for real. That gagged me in the movie theater. I'm like, Miss Darbus? It was you? Bruh. She ate though, because she was like, this guy's a star. Okay. Clearly,
literally,
he's got potential. And the fact that Miss Darbus sees that in him is so endearing, you know, because like she's really for the theater. Like, she's passionate about, you know, the musicale. And if she thinks that Troy's got it, then he's got it, you know? And I think that kind of like made him like also give him reassurance on his passion and the way that he just needs to stop fighting it, bruh. Like, you enjoy being on the stage. You like theater. Like, you have become a theater kid. It is what it is. And that's basically what Miss Darbus said without saying it. And so after that, that's when Troy is talking to Chad the next day, and he gets a call from Gabriella, and Gabriella is basically like, I run out of goodbyes. Okay. I know I said that I was going to do the orientation, and even though I would miss the musical, I would come back for graduation and prom, but I don't think I could do it because then I'd have to like come back and then leave and then come back and leave again. And it's like, it's just too much. So I'd rather just like stay away. Because at that point, she's like, you could tell she's just getting spooked. And she's like, she's in her head. And she's like, okay, maybe like this is just for the best. And like, maybe me and Troy just don't need to be together. And I do need to just focus on me. And it's like the little inner Taylor demon seems to have just like gotten to her at that moment. So now Troy's like sad because he's like, well, dang, like I at least thought she was going to come back from prom and graduation, but now she's tripping. So that's when Troy was like talking to Chad about it. And Chad tried to comfort him. And he basically was just like, well, like, we all know that you don't bring the girl with you to college. And, like, look at me. Like, I'm in the same boat. Taylor's going to do her own thing. And I'm cool with that. Like, we already know we're going to break up, which is like, oh, I hate that. The freak. And he was like, and me and you, we're going to go to U of A. Which
I put
strike 3, right?
yes. Attenzione, pickpocket. Attenzione, bad friend alert. Like, you're just never there. You're never comforting. Like, you are just so whack.
But yeah, just like Taylor trying to comfort Gabriella, how that pissed me off. Chad equally pissed me off here too.
Like, neither of you are being supportive.
Literally.
Like,
so then that's when he's like, well, if Gabriella is saying that she doesn't want to go to prom, then I'm just going to go see her and like make my own prom, essentially. So he's like, skip what Chad's talking about. Like, this is my girl. This is the love of my life. So he drives 1,000 miles in his crusty little truck and he goes to Stanford to see Gabriella, and she leaves the building and she looks up and she sees Troy's car, which is literally about to catch on fire at this point after driving 1,000 miles to go see her. And in classic Troy fashion, he's sitting up in a tree and she's like, what's it with you and trees? Which I thought was funny. And he was like, I could just think better up here. And basically he was like, if I'm going to have a last dance at East High, it's going to be with you. So like, my prom is wherever you are. Like, if you don't want to come to prom,
I thought that
then
was so beautiful.
Literally,
Him saying, my prom is wherever you are. Like,
I know.
When is it my turn? When will it be my turn?
For real. It was so cute. And then he starts singing Can I Have This Dance, which is like so cute because the first time they perform Can I Have This Dance, Gabriella starts the song off, but this time Troy starts it off. And she's just like, oh, my man. Like, clearly living for the gesture, which is so adorable. And then one thing that kind of confused me is that, like, then the scene as they're dancing kind of shifts in between, like, them dancing at Stanford, but then, like, being at actual prom. But
I think that's just sort of, like, symbolism. Like, I don't think they were actually...
They were, like, imagining that they were actually at prom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Like, Gabriella skipped prom, so then Troy said, all right, I'm skip prom too, which is, like, so cute.
Yeah, but in the, little prom imagination where they're back at East High, I started crying because it was just so cute. The part where they're all waltzing in the gym, all the main cast, and then they switch partners. So Taylor is dancing with Troy and Gabriella is dancing with Chad. And like both of them everybody just looks so happy to be dancing with each other. Like, did you see the way Monique Coleman, her face, like when she was looking at Zach? I'm like,
of course.
So cute. And Corbin Blue looked so happy to be dancing with Gabriella and vice versa. Everybody was just so happy. That was just such a cute part. And like,
that's why I wish it was real. Like, how come y'all couldn't have just, Gabriella, you could have just came. Like, gang, cut it out.
Right.
Like, we deserve to have a real prom scene, not an imaginary one.
I'm not someone who cries easily in movies, but that genuinely made me cry. Like, that part.
And one thing that I really, really like about the imagination prom is Chad's outfit. Like, Chad's suit with the Danforth on the back. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cornball. But like, it's so Chad. And after they're done doing their little imaginary prom together, then Troy is basically like, East High is not ready to say goodbye to you. Like, you're an icon, you're a legend. Like, we need you.
She is the moment.
No, for real. And I think you should reconsider. And he convinces her to come back with him so that way they can make it to the musical. So then that's when we fast forward and it's the day of the show and they're backstage. And then that's when Rocket Man is like, okay, I just got a text from Troy and he says that him and Gabriella have been like driving all night and to break a leg. And he's like, what the frick does that mean? And everybody's like, that means you're on. Because Troy was like, I'm going to try to make it to by the second act. So now Rocket Man is like freaking out a little bit because Miss Darbus is also freaking out. Everybody's freaking out because they're like, we already knew that Gabriella might not make it. But now Troy is also might not make it back in time because he want to drive to go see Gabriella. Is crazy work. So that ends up just being like chaotic. The show starts for the musical starts. Everybody's parents are there. Troy's parents are there. We see Sharpay and Ryan's parents are there. Like, great to see their faces. And the opening number for the musical is the same opening song for the movie, which is like so meta.
Now or never.
Literally, now or never. And Chad is eating the choreo down.
The last time to get it
Right is the last time. Like, when I tell you I got goosebumps watching this again this weekend.
High School Musical within the High School Musical within the High School Musical.
No, literally. Like, we already thought that the opening number for the movie period was good, but seeing it in play form ate down. I was literally smiling so hard when I was watching it on my iPad. I'm like,
I had Martha and the cheerleaders.
Yes, like, it was so cute. And then meanwhile, that's when Sharpay is behind the scenes and she's like, okay, like, I'm getting ready to do I Just Want to Be With You, which is originally, you know, Troy and Gabriella's song, but now that I'm Gabriella, because at this point nobody knows that Gabriella is with Troy on their way back to East High. So Sharpay is like, I'm getting ready, you know, somebody get Troy, like, so we can go over our lines. And that's when she goes out and she's still under the impression that Troy is gonna be there, but she realizes that Troy's not gonna make it, and she has to sing with Rocket Man. That whole number right there was so funny. The part
where Troy was supposed to come out, she gets surprised because it's Rocket Man instead of Troy. And I put in my notes, I'm like, wait, Rocket Man can low-key sing. And also I put that that part used to give me kind of butterflies since I had a crush on Rocket Man. And the way he pulled Sharpay closer by her waist, I was like,
by pinky.
I'm like, okay.
But then it's so funny because he's got this like stupid cologne on.
Dumb pimp costume on. So
like, Miss Darvis, you should have had a better lock on what he was wearing before he went up out there.
Right.
If he would have walked past me and I was Miss Darvis to go on that stage, I would have snatched his little butt up and said, change your clothes. Now you go out there. Because what was that?
All right.
And then him wearing that cologne that Sharpay was allergic to was insane. So she's like, okay, great. That whole moment was sabotage because I thought I was going to be able to sing with Troy. And that's not the case. Plus, I'm out here sneezing because of this stupid cologne. Like, Sharpay is just not having the best of luck tonight. And then on top of that, since Gabriella, everybody's under the impression that Gabriella's not going to be there. And Sharpay was technically supposed to be Gabriella's role. And then her little assistant was supposed to then play Sharpay. She's like, I'm going to still go out there and do what I got to do. She's like, I want to take over the role and be Sharpay. And Sharpay's like, no, like, skip you. And that whole thing was so funny. Like, them performing, was it I Want It All? Was it? What song was that they performed?
Night to Remember.
Night to Remember, yep. Night to Remember. And then you have mini Sharpay fighting with actual Sharpay.
Let's dance.
The night of nights.
The night of nights. Like, girl, we get it. You're British.
No, for real. And then after that, Sharpay just is like, okay, well, double whammy. Double struggle for me tonight, but I'm still going to serve a cunt. And kudos to Sharpay because she said, I'm that girl. I'm not going to let this little girl take my spot like this. I'm going to still go out and serve. And that's what she did.
I believe you were in the wrong costume. Like, yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry. That's the one time I side with Sharpay. We're like, girl, you better get out there and freaking take your show back.
No. She grabbed it by its hair, snatched and dragged that girl, and said, get the frick out of here. Oh, that ate down. And then, of course, after that, that's when the second act comes and Troy and Gabriella make it, and then they're able to sing the actual proper version of I Just Want to Be With You. And it eats down, and then of course, like the rest of the cast, they are excited to see that, like, oh my god, Gabriella's back. They give her flowers, and they're like, yay, the queen of East High is back, guys. It was like so cute. They were like, mother.
No, literally, mother is mothering.
Mother was mothering. And then what happens after that?
After that, then they do the final part of the play where all the seniors, Ms. Darvis comes up and is like, ladies and gentlemen, our seniors. And then she announces that Kelsey and Ryan get the scholarship, and then like the song that everybody, that's like, it's a choir.
Oh yes, because Juilliard decided to give 2 seniors the scholarship.
Yeah, so Kelsey and Ryan were the recipients of that, and I thought it was so cute. Like the song that's playing in the background that the rest of the ensemble is singing is like
Together.
Yeah, like all this together church version.
No,
I'm like, oh, y'all are killing me.
take us to church, Brother Bolton.
Literally. But then, they're up on stage, all the seniors, and then Chad is like dips out of nowhere. So then Troy has to go get him. Being a freaking great.
Because why would you do that? You did the opening act. Chad was there for the opening number, and then was like, bro, I gotta play some ball. Like, get it together, bro. If you don't get your butt out here.
And but before that, Troy talks about how he's gonna go to university. He's like, I picked a school that is exactly 32.7 miles from you.
And then he said that she was the one who inspired his heart or something like that.
Yeah. Y'all are just too cute. So then,
and he was able to double major in theater and basketball at the University of California. See, this is what we're talking about, people. Like we said, you guys were trying to make it seem like they were so stupid and dumb for wanting to make it work. And Troy said, no, watch this. I'm going to be able to still let Gabriella go to Stanford and do what she wants to do. And I'm going to be a man and, make sure that I can stay close to her. And what am I going to do? I'm going to talk to whoever I need to talk to, figure out how to double major, and still be able to be with my girl. That is so eatery. Troy?
So mature, too.
Yes.
And just so beautiful.
I'm so happy with that decision. 30 miles away, that's perfection. Chef's kiss. And then that's when he goes to get Chad because he's being a whiny BB.
Chad's stressing and is like, we're going to be at separate schools, huh? He's like, yeah, we're going to kick some Red Hawk butt.
In November.
Oh.
Not Troy already knowing the schedule.
And, yeah.
And then Mr. Bolton.
Comes to the gym.
For it.
You guys get up there and get on that stage. And Troy's like, never thought I would hear my dad say that. And Troy and his dad hug, and then it's the end of the play, and then they get to actual graduation, and Troy's, of course, the star student, gives a beautiful speech. I'm like,
are we to assume that Troy is the valedictorian? Because like, why else would Troy be giving a speech? I would assume that
could be just because he's a cool guy.
That's true. But I was like, I started thinking too deep into it. I'm like, I would think that Gabriella would be the valedictorian or Taylor.
School voted cool guy. That's his official title in your book. And then he's like, once a wildcat, always a wildcat. I'm like, ugh. So true.
No, like, we are wildcats after you. When you go through this saga, we went to that school too.
Right. I know my way around East High.
No, for real. See, I would have been the girl trying to get on Zeke at that point.
Yeah, because obviously Sharpay ain't paying him no mind. So give me that.
No, for real. I would have snatched him on up if I was in high school, but if I was in that lore, in that universe,
I'm either going for Zeke or I'm going for Rocket Man. Two very different sides of different coins. That's what I want.
Oh my god, no.
Jimmy the Rocket Zara. I need that.
Oh my gosh. Graduation was beautiful. I couldn't have asked for like a more perfect graduation. The way that they all run onto that field and then like form the Wildcat like symbol.
So freaking cool and beautiful. And
The
then
cinematography choices are just so insane in this movie.
I know. And then they start singing, you know, the High School Musical song.
Who says we have to let it go?
That song in itself, very meta, but like just so like that's just such the perfect end. I genuinely am getting chills even just thinking about it now. Like such a great ending. And then they did a final little wave with everybody.
Let it body, let it celebrate.
That was one big stage. And then my
Sharpay
favorite,
in the cut. Everybody in the cut.
yeah, and like the final part, all together makes it better.
Memories will last forever.
I want the rest of my life to feel just like my
High School Musical. Like
chills. Like, oh my
that's
god.
when I puked because I was way like, whoa, this
Like,
is so bone chillingly,
just
literally beautiful cinema.
I know. And then that last final shot where with the main cast, Sharpay, Ryan, Troy, Gabriella, Chad, and Taylor. And they all have their own little solo shots and they're all just standing
Sentimentally staring at the camera.
like
Taylor with the eye, with her tears in her eyes.
I know.
They jump and then the jump unfreezes. Like, oh.
And then, like, that is just so like the only other type of thing that makes me feel that way, like genuine chills, like this is art, is the ending of Breaking Dawn Part 2. Twilight.
Literally.
Like that gives me just as much chills and be like, this, it's so beautiful. All the people that came together and made this happen and the main cast and like all like the journey everyone went on and like it's just so beautiful to see. And
It really
I feel
is.
that way about the end of Breaking Dawn Part 2 with the you know, sentimental song at the end.
That's true. I think that is such a good comparison. The way that those sagas end are like perfect saga endings. I literally got chills at the end of this movie. So much so that I just stared and felt so many emotions once the ending credits came on. You watching the bloopers and you're like, bruh, this is
And like
a
the thing about it, I
movie.
think that makes it feel even more intense is like, yeah, it's like senior year, but that's also like that's the final High School Musical thing that they were gonna do. So it's like you feel those feelings as if you're in college, and as if you're in high school about to go to college, but you also feel like as an actor stepping into that role, you feel emotional about that, but also as a person, you feel emotional about this thing that you've worked towards that felt, I bet, to some of them like college ending.
Yeah. You can just see it all over the place, like I said, with, Taylor like crying, like, and then even Zac Efron looks like he could potentially be holding back tears, but he's like, I'm gonna keep it P.
Yeah.
He kept it P. But oh, it's so emotional. Oh my god, it's so emotional. And then next thing you know, you're watching the credits all the way to then when the boys are back are playing. And I'm just looking at the credits and I'm
Play
like,
the
bro.
boys are back as the credit song, and I'm like, ugh. The boys were at college actually.
And me and Janae were talking about this offline where we were saying how we just felt like it was so disgustingly disrespectful that in High School Musical, the series, they're like, Trey and Gabriella are in couples counseling.
Like,
and I was
excuse me, they're not even here to be able to speak for themselves. Don't speak for them. They're living happily ever after, and they're a beautiful, happy couple. And
they've got 2 children by now.
Literally, like, don't put that on them. They're happily married. Thank you.
Troy's already been in a Broadway production.
High School Musical, the series, is not canon.
Like, we don't claim. And if anything, I was saying that I think that if they were couples counseling, it would be because Gabrielle is like so madly in love with Troy still, or vice versa, that they're like, I just want to be closer to you. And they do couples counseling. Because, like we always say, with therapy and counseling, nothing, it doesn't have to be wrong. You could do it because you just want to continue to just keep loving that person even more. So that's the only lore that I will accept. That they decided to do couples counseling because they're still just so madly in love and they want to just love each other even more. Like, skip you. Like, don't put that on mom and dad. Like, bruh.
Literally.
It's literally giving mom and dad. If you don't get mom and dad after watching this, I don't know what's wrong with you.
All right.
Ugh. And that, my friends, is mother freaking High School Musical 3. I might ever want to watch the movie just again, just like because I don't have to take notes this time.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm like, I might rewatch the series too.
Well, any other last thoughts as we wrap this series up? We've really come a long way with covering this saga.
I'd say once a wildcat, always a wildcat.
For real. So if you guys haven't, gone back and like watched the films, I would highly recommend that you do that. Like, it's really, really fun to go back and like watch these Disney classics that we all enjoyed as kids, like as an adult. Like, I can say that High School Musical as a series of movies is just as entertaining and like still holds up as like good, fun, just feel good films as an adult, in my opinion. And I can just see myself for years to come still wanting to revisit and still wanting to watch. Like, it's one of my favorites, and I think it's just going to always be one of my favorites. Like, it's such a beginning, beautiful beginning for like Zac Efron's career, and he just ate. He ate. It just shows like all the potential that he has as an actor, and it just only gave him like such a good foundation for everything that he's like accomplished in his career up to this point, for real. Mm-hmm. And shout out to Kenny Ortega, bruh. But yeah, so make sure you guys watch those movies on Disney Plus. Like, trust, I don't think you guys are going to regret it. And I really hope that you guys had fun walking down memory lane as we recapped all of our favorite moments from this film. So like I said at the beginning, in the comments on YouTube or Spotify, let me know what were your favorite moments, what's your favorite film out of all of the films. And yeah, like, we do plan on doing more movie reviews and reactions like in the future, of course. This isn't our first one together. Me and Janae specifically, we reacted to the first Cheetah Girls film, and I just really enjoy doing these with you, especially. Thank you guys so much for joining. Like I said at the beginning, on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. And on Spotify and Apple, rate that 5 stars and leave a review. And with that, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Cause I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with ya.